Welcome back under the big top for a little more of the Cyborg Circus in the Cyborg Tinkerer. In the last chapter, Rora goes through a highly implausible obstacle course, reminiscent of American Ninja Warrior. Rora also deals with unpleasant people who want to win. How do you win? Really very unclear. But Rora does happen to get second place somehow, and I guess that's fine. And then Gwen finds out that she's more of a repo man than a cyborg tinkerer.
Hello and welcome to my darkened living room. It's late at night. Adam has already gone to bed, but I am still wakeful, so I decided to subject myself to some more Cyborg Tinkerer. I was thinking about something at work, and I wanted to talk about it, but can I remember what it is? I think it had to do with the reception of this book and Meg as an author. Now obviously it's the whole stigma of self-publishing, it wouldn't have been published if she'd gone traditionally, and probably not. Do I think that this book should just be on Wattpad to read for free? Yes, 100%. I don't think she should be selling this for money, but I also don't think that she should be punished for writing a bad first book, because we all write bad first books. I know there's going to be somebody in my comments who's like, no, my first book was amazing and very successful, and I don't know what you're talking about, but you are the exception, not the rule. The rest of us normies, we write bad first books, and bad second books, and bad third books, and we just get better at it. And Meg will get better at it too, if we haven't scared her away from writing altogether. Now that I've given that disclaimer, and I'm don't be so hard on her, I'm gonna continue being hard on this book. Let us all remember that Wattpad's sensation, The Cellar, was also published by professionals. So I'm just saying, it's the Wild West out there. I will say that while Meg has a long way to go, I still see way more promise in her than I ever saw in the guy who wrote The Ables. I keep pointing out these times when Meg is using hallmarks of Jenna's writing style, but actually I think that is showing that she is willing to learn from what other writers are doing, and that's a really important ability, to be able to take on board what other writers are doing, see what you like and you don't like, and I think she's only going to get better at it. I hope she keeps practicing. I feel like the guy who wrote The Ables doesn't care about other people's advice or care to read what other people are doing. He just thinks he's just good. Whereas Meg was influenced heavily by a writer friend, and honestly, I don't think that that is a flaw so much as a feature going forward that is going to help her. And I hope she reads more, she expands her bag of tricks away from Jenna Moressi's bag of tricks, and I still think Meg could be good. She just needs to practice more. This book probably should have just been published on Wattpad, and she just kept practicing, keep getting feedback. Alright, that was my disclaimer. We're on to chapter 11. I'm reading about Gwen, doing her job.
It's a thankless job.
Now, I understand that the mistress doesn't care if the people Gwen operates on die. No fucks given about that. But I am curious why she's not worried that Gwen might damage these expensive parts that she is trying to repo. Because, as we have established, Gwen is not actually a cyborg tinkerer. She is a ship tinkerer / ship engineer, and she has admitted many times that she doesn't know what she's doing, and while Gwen is more concerned about the health and well-being of the people that she is slicing into, one would think the mistress would actually be concerned that Gwen might damage the cyborg parts. Sweat poured down the sides of Gwen's cheeks. Not the fronts, just the sides. Just only here. No sweat here. Only here. In fact, Gwen thinks just now it would be convenient if I knew what I was doing. Yeah, I think that the mistress is making a serious mistake here for a number of reasons, trusting Gwen with this job. So Gwen is trying to work on people who are all have damaged cyborg parts after the first competition, and she's not being given anything new. All of the repoed parts, I'm assuming, are being saved aside for the mistress and whatever she's doing. And things are just vague enough to make it clear that Meg wasn't really interested in researching sort of technology that would be similar enough to what these cyborgs are working with to make herself sound a little bit more professional. She'd be hard-pressed to find the right wiring for the implants. Maybe be a little bit more descriptive. Does she need different gauges? Like copper wiring versus some other kind of wiring? Like what exactly is she working with here? But everything is very vague. It's difficult to picture exactly what she's doing for that reason as well. Now, I'm not saying I need to know every tiny nitty-gritty detail of the thing that she's working on, but little precise details can make your book sound better. Knowing when to be specific, I've mentioned this before. Being specific in the right places is going to be really powerful with your writing. So the person that Gwen is working on right now is Marzana, and she finishes up, and then Gwen looks piningly, that's not a word, but she looks out to where Aurora is practicing, and she's just like, huh. And then Marzana says, "You two still not talking?" As though Gwen and Aurora are an actual couple and not just two people who dance together at a party. It's really weird. It's like Meg wanted to leap forward with their relationship and treat it as though they have been a couple for a long time. Maybe that's how lesbians do it. I don't know.
One thing Meg could have done is having Rora and Gwen be an established couple who had broken up. So maybe they hadn't seen each other for a while, but they had history. Maybe they didn't even break up on bad terms, they just went their separate ways. And oh no, they're reunited and they can rekindle their relationship, allowing them to be a lot further in the relationship than they should be having met like yesterday. That would allow Meg to play a little bit more with them being like, oh, are you not speaking again? You know, what is our relationship? Acting like close girlfriends instead of it feeling so awkward and abrupt.
Gwen still keeps the side of her head shaved. After her implant was put in, she just keeps that side of her head shaved, you know, for the stylish haircut. Oh, we have another Jenna Moreci sentence. Stop being a little bitch and talk to her. I 100% could hear that coming out of any of Jenna's characters' mouths. I'm pretty sure I have. I feel like somebody said that to Layla. One of her sisters, probably. We get a little hint that Gwen is working on a secret project. It's very, very brief hint. Gwen decides she's going to go speak to Aurora at Marzana's urging, and so she goes to her room. And she is grouchy because she's been being ignored for the past week. And it's like, you are not girlfriends. You danced at a party. Again, they just seem overly familiar. Gwen thinks, why did I fall for a fucking pessimist? You fell for her? You have a crush on her, sure, I believe that, but fell for her? Next you're going to be telling me you're soulmates. This sounds a little bit fetishizing. I know, I don't think it was intended to be, but Gwen wanted to fuck her beautiful, dark, petite body. Feels a little fetishizing to me, but maybe that's just me. Again, wish we could be specific. Instead of just grabbing several tools, she sat on the edge of Aurora's bed. You could be like grabbing these specific tools. Gwen puts on rubber gloves so she doesn't get zapped, and then immediately gets zapped by Aurora's implant, and takes her glove off and throws it on the floor. Like, what was the point of the glove then, if it does nothing? Aurora is still upset with Gwen, thinking that Gwen had something to do with any of this. Again, this feels forced. Like, if these characters thought about it for more than 2 seconds, like, if Aurora had perhaps seen the surprise and dismay on Gwen's face at the party. But no, she jumps to the immediate conclusion that Gwen is in on it. Gwen is getting to explain that she had no idea, but this plot point could have just been completely skipped. Having Aurora be mad at her, I don't know what that achieves other than like a little bit of petty conflict, which then Gwen has to go to Aurora's room. And it could just be that Aurora doesn't want to deal with anybody and she's too upset. And so she hasn't come out of her room or hasn't spoken to anybody, and Gwen could still go there and like be comforting or something. Like, this specific plot point doesn't need to happen.
Especially as we later learn that Rora is the least suspicious person in the world. We've gotten some hints of it already, but this girl, she is a goody two-shoes to the max. So it doesn't make sense with what we learn about her character later that she would be immediately suspicious of Gwen. Knowing how every one of your main characters would react if they felt or they were betrayed is a pretty important thing, I feel, to know about your characters, and it should be consistent. Also, what could happen to make them feel betrayed? Just sort of important things that you should think about for your characters.
Gwen is fixing Aurora's hand, they've made up, they're friends again, they want to fuck each other, whatever. They want to run away together, overly familiar, these people. But then Gwen dares to suggest that Rora join another team, another act, so that if Rora's hand is too damaged for her to compete, she can have someone else do it. Which again, it doesn't seem to be the way that it actually works. It's the way we're told it works, but we haven't seen that yet. It seemed like everybody was competing in the last one. So I don't know how that would help, but it is serving the purpose of making Rora mad at Gwen again. They're talking about all the cyborgs who died in the first competition, and I'm like, those people are so faceless that we, the reader, do not care about them. If you wanted to make us care if people died, you needed to have a much smaller circus, and you needed to let us get to know at least one of these people who died a little bit. Because, the girl's talking about how, people died. It doesn't mean anything to us.
But nobody got hurt. Well, maybe somebody got hurt, but nobody we knew.
Just having your characters talk about how upsetting it is to see people die is often not enough, especially because we as book readers are fairly used to side character deaths, so for it to mean anything, you gotta put in a little bit more work, unfortunately. Again, we get very confused message. It's talking about Gwen. She joined the circus excited for the challenge. No, she was actively dying, and she's mad that she wasn't even given all of the information. But now she's like, oh no, I was excited for the challenge. Make up your mind, woman. Were you forced into this against your will and against your knowledge? Or were you like, yes, I will happily join because I want a new challenge? Which is it? Please decide. Oh, the girls have made up again. They were angry for a couple seconds and they're already making up so they can hold hands. And we're already doing that thing that I have trouble with in books. I think it's time someone reassured you how strong and capable you are. You saved 52 people, Gwen. That wasn't luck. You're smart and I trust you with my life. Again, you two barely know each other, but also you guys know how I feel about characters praising each other, especially this early in the book. It's a really fine tightrope to walk. But I feel if you have characters praise each other too much, it sounds a little bit too much like the author being like, isn't my main character cool? I'm going to have all the other characters tell them how cool they are so you, the reader, understand that they're cool. That's why I'm pretty sparing with having my characters praise each other, even if it would make sense for them to do so, because too much of it definitely just feels like the author trying to convince you that their characters are cool. Gwen realizes that she's forgotten what her parents' faces look like, and she's going through the forgetting, and she's freaking out about it. Why does it do it slowly? If for some reason we need Gwen to forget that her parents were once high-up muckety-mucks who were robbed of their power, why not just have it happen immediately when she gets her implant? And again, Gwen is super loyal, super quickly. She thinks, this is my family now, defending these cyborgs comes first. Why? And then, to finish off the chapter, Rora says, one of these days I'll figure you out, Gwendolyn Grimm. What the fuck is to figure out? Gwen is not a puzzle. She is not an enigma. She is just a slab of nothing. She's nothing. There's not much to Gwen's personality, quite frankly. She is a paper person. Unfortunate, but to be expected, again, with a novice writer. But, Gwen, I couldn't tell you much about Gwen. I don't even know if she was excited to be here or not. I know more about Rora because at least her motivation seems to mostly remain the same, that she wants to perform before the Emperor, which she for some reason thinks is going to work out for her. So I know two things about her. One, she wants to perform before the Emperor, and two, she is very gullible. But that was the end of chapter 11. I'm going to turn my camera off and then on again and get on to chapter 12, but who knows if that'll be in the same video or in a new video, so whenever that happens, I'll see you. Alright, I am still here. It is still nighttime, and we are recording more of the Cyborg Tinkerer, chapter 12. Doesn't look like it's a super long chapter, so let's go. Okay. I mean, if it's what you like. So I think we're going to get some sexy times, finally, or at least some maybe sexy times, some teasing to sexy times. They're still in Rora's room, and at some point Rora changed into lingerie, and Gwen observes that she has shaved everything. So I guess It's an odd thing to mention if you ask me, but I guess if that's what you're into, if that's something you really notice. It does seem a little bit like Gwen didn't realize that Aurora was in lingerie until Gwen was about to leave, and then Aurora was like, don't leave, and then Gwen turned around and it was like, holy shit, she's hot, and she's shaved everything. Some of these descriptions, I just don't find that very sexy. Teeth pulling and tongues flicking. I think we are getting enough description that I'm going to count this as a sexy time, even if they do get interrupted, or, which I suspect they will get interrupted, but maybe this whole chapter is just porn. I don't know. I'm counting it. I'm getting out a pink sticker. Of course, they're undressing each other, and Rora's finger trailing the length of her waist where Gwen's belt held up her trousers. I mean, that is what belts are for. Apparently the belt is tied, though not buckled, untying it with torturous slowness. So maybe it's like a rope or something. Usually belts are buckled, especially in steampunk. Don't you think it would be buckled and probably some superfluous gears stuck to it? Oh man, she pulled a Jenna Moresi. It was just smut, and then it was also just a dream.
Now, fundamentally, the all a dream reveal is risky at its most base level because it disrupts the suspension of disbelief.
What is your allergy to having characters have sex earlier in the book, ladies? I'm still counting it. I'm not taking my pink tag away because smutty things were happening. It just wasn't real. Just like in The Savior's Sister, or Savior's Champion, whatever. They have a lot of smutty dreams about each other because we can't have any real sex, because that would ruin the book somehow. Or characters could have sex more than one time. Apparently Gwen doesn't wear underwear to bed. She's just wearing a shirt. There's someone at her door, and it's Bastion. Of course it's Bastion. Like, who else would it be? She's so horny that she's lightheaded. Allosexuals, does that happen? Do you get so horny that you're lightheaded? My husband's not here, or I'd ask him. What a line. It had been some time since a cock had filled her. Poetry. Gwen is supposed to go see the mistress this morning, and so she puts on some clothes, and she just pulls on pants. So we have no proof that she's wearing underwear still. She's going commando. We get the hinting that Bastion and the mistress have kind of a history, suggesting that potentially maybe they were either lovers before, or she said she misses when he was her pet, so perhaps there was some sort of abusive relationship happening there. But he seems very, like, tense around her, and Rora notices that he's even skinnier than before, so he's, like, dropping weight precipitously. So the mistress is like, we're gonna do a checkup on your implant. They go into the next room, and there is, like, what basically sounds like a tablet, or like a laptop, and they're calling it, like, digital technology, and apparently it's, like, really rare and expensive, and I am so confused by the technology in this world. And they talk about, like, sending a digital message, but, like, is there internet? Does the internet exist in this universe? So Celeste says that Celeste is the mistress, by the way. All of a sudden we're using her name, which I forgot she was named Celeste until just now. But she's like, I need to take out your chip at the back of your neck and put it into the computer, because apparently it's like a memory card, so that it can read all of the interactions that your cyborg parts have had with your brain. And I'm like, every possible red flag is going off right now, but Gwen seems fine with it. She's just like, cool.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
So the second that the mistress does something to the chip, we assume take it out, but she might be doing something else. Gwen is just overcome with this, like, desire to get back to the circus. Like, that's all she wants is the circus. I don't know if the mistress has done something to the chip just now, or whether removal of the chip makes everybody just, like, suddenly really into the circus. If the mistress can control Gwen in this way, why didn't she do it to begin with? Why did she have to deal with Gwen being rebellious? And now that the chip is put back in, she's like, well, what the heck was that? But, like, does she need the chip? Or could the mistress just leave her as, like, a blank slate? Could Gwen still get her job done, repoing people's limbs without her chip? Okay, so Gwen's eye seems to have a knack for locating metal. Sure. And she's looking at Celeste, and she notices, like, some of her bones appear to be metal, but also her fingernails are gleaming, And Gwen immediately assumes that the woman has retractable claws. Why would her fingernails being metal, why would that make you think, oh, they must be retractable claws? Again, Gwen is just really trusting of this motherfucker. The mistress tells Gwen that everybody has a checkup with her every year. If Gwen is supposed to be the cyborg tinkerer and save the mistress, like, time, wouldn't the mistress teach Gwen how to do this? Probably not, because the mistress is definitely up to evil, but Gwen does not question. Why would you ask questions? Okay, she does briefly wonder why the mistress is performing engineering checkups on cyborg implants. That's not the thing I would be wondering about. And then Gwen just like goes on about her business. That's it. We're on to chapter 13. And I think that I have sufficiently melted my brain, so I'm going to go to bed now. Good night, everyone. We will return later for more of this weird book. A little bit all over the place, but are we really surprised? No, we're not. Hello, it is once again nighttime. Adam has once again gone to bed, and I'm just going to film like a chapter of this monster before I go to bed, before I join him. So, ignore my hair, because like it's the end of the day, and I don't even know. I talk as though it looks decent during the day. It did not. It always looks like this. Let's read chapter 13. We're back with Rora. The city is called Apparatus. We didn't even try. Hello, and welcome to Meglator's School of Lazy Naming. Although Rora is going to a bar, which does beg the question, like I get that this whole like city, possibly whole planet, is based around the circus, but like, if she's allowed to leave the castle, why doesn't she just leave permanently? I know why Rora doesn't leave. It's because she's obsessed with this idea that somehow the Emperor is going to have a change of heart about cyborgs if he just sees her perform. But like, everyone else could be like, fucking bye. I feel like being on the run, but still having your body parts, is better than having them violently repoed off of you, where you might just bleed to death because the person doing it has no idea what they're doing and zero qualifications. Apparently there's an equestrian act. How is the person who trains horses supposed to compete with, like, strong men and gymnasts? I just don't understand this competition. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Now, I know that it's probably just an excuse for the mistress to harvest all of their cyborg parts, although really, you think she could come up with something a little bit simpler than this? Like, does it have to be so complicated? Maybe she's a real showman and she is just like, no, it's gotta be grand or nothing. I am putting together the most complicated thing I can think of, and people are just gonna have to deal with it. These people, do they not wonder? Do they not go, this is stupid, I train horses? Akio and the character Rosalie, who's a character who I'm sure doesn't really matter, are sucking face in the corner of the bar. My husband and I have been watching The Great, and just the overall level of just like horniness in The Great is pretty much what it feels like to read Jenna Moressi's books and also Cyborg Tinkerer. All of a sudden everybody gets real tense because I guess they got wind that there might be a dragon in the vicinity. I guess somebody screamed outside and everyone is like, oh, that definitely means a dragon. We will investigate no further. And then they hear a ship, like, landing, coming to dock. And everyone's like, okay, it's not a dragon. Then why did somebody fucking scream? I kind of wish a dragon would eat all of these people. That would be cool. Aurora's like, it was probably nothing more than a quick robbery or a mugging. It's a very lawless city. Apparently they don't have any, like, police or anything. Once again, we get the implication that Gwen is hauling around quite a caboose. Cause Mirzana says, by the look of those marvelous hips.
Ow, she's a brick! Ow!
For some reason, Rora is back on her bullshit about, like, I have to seduce Gwen, but, like, I thought she was over that. I thought she got rid of that plan almost immediately. But now she's like, oh yeah, I do have to seduce Gwen so I can get a new hand. Even though I'm certain that Rora has been told that no one is getting new parts. So I don't know why she thinks that Gwen is going to be able to hook her up with one. Tinkering definitely sounds like it's a sex act because everybody's so horny. But if other performers were more than willing to sleep with Gwen for nothing more than hope of some extra tinkering, yeah, then 100% just sounds like a sex act. You want to do a little tinkering? Apparently Abercan is just Gaston because, like, he's got his shirt open and there's black chest hair at eye level. By the way, Abercan is here, and he's calling Rora a dyke again, and I'm just like, why? Everybody is so gay. Why would anyone care if they were gay? Like, every person is like, yeah, I'm bisexual, yeah, I have multiple partners. Everyone is so horny and so gay. And Abercan is still over here being homophobic for some reason. It doesn't make sense in the world. Have him call her something else. Have him call her frigid or dried up or something. Like, if she refused him, he could come up with other insulting things to call her besides implying that she's a lesbian. Rora wonders, how is she supposed to win a competition with a fickle judge, murderous competitors, and unscrupulous rules? You're not supposed to, honey. This competition is meant to kill you all so she can harvest your parts. That's it. I cannot believe that you actually think that you're going to be performing before the Emperor, let alone the fact that you think he's going to change his mind about cyborgs once he sees you. Also, everyone is just chilling in the bar, talking about sex and stuff, when they just went through a deadly competition where a lot of them died and several of the rest of them had their body parts forcibly ripped off. It's almost like they find this to be completely expected and normal. I don't hate this line. A smile spread across his lips like a disease spreading over a city. Don't hate it. For some reason, Abercan's a bully for a while, and then they move on. And for some reason, Rora thinks that it's good because Abercan thinks that she and Gwen are together, and most of the circus thinks that she and Gwen are together, and she thinks that that's good for her plan. And I don't understand why. I guess so that nobody else sweeps in and tries to get with Gwen. That's the end of the chapter, and I was only going to read one tonight. Honestly, aside from a plot that makes zero sense, the cardinal sin that this book is guilty of is characters who are too dumb to live. Characters who don't question, or if they do question, it's like a sentence long and then they move on. The characters don't do things that are intelligent and make sense. And you can have unintelligent characters, but like one or two, like, limit it, because it can be very tiring for your reader to constantly be wondering how your characters survive. How do they feed themselves, you know? And that is the problem that this book is having. For the sake of this redonkulous plot, these characters just have to go along with a lot of things, and it's just not working for me. And it didn't work for a lot of people, as we saw by the scores. Although many people did DNF this book and still leave it a 1 star. And if I DNF, I don't leave a rating. But that's a me thing. Not everybody has to follow my rules. Although if you want to survive the deadly cyborg competition, you better follow my rules. Alright, that's enough for tonight. I'll see you next time.
You're in my world now, not your world. And I got friends on the other side. He's got friends on the other side.
Friends like My 96, Afra, Melissa, AC, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Merween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, Belle, and Sophie, Ray, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Irene, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, Sarah, and Lennox. Whew, I have so many friends, I'm gonna run out of room on the other side.
We've done a lot of things we're not proud of. Robbing graves, plundering the tombs, double parking. But nobody got hurt. Well, maybe somebody got hurt, but nobody we knew.